Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to the channel. The latest Pakistani chess news is that our country's top rated player, Mr. Mehmood Lodhi, has gone to Bangladesh, I believe, to take part in the year long International Master Tournament, which is organized by the Bangladeshi Chess Federation and is comprised of classical format with 90 minutes plus 30-second increment. Yeah, we before showing you today's game, I'll just show you guys how the tournament is going for Mr. Lodi. So if you guys can see this, I don't know. Let me just yeah. So the pairings have already been announced. He has had a draw with the Grandmaster, which is really nice. And other than that this was his first win today. He has, I believe, that's two. That's one. That's 2.5 out of 5 right now, and the tournament has 11 rounds, and a bye constitutes as 0, meaning no points, which is kind of weird. But okay, let's see where he ends the tournament at. So without much further ado, we'll begin analyzing the game. Let me just set up the board. Yeah, right here. Mr. Mehmood Lodhi had the white pieces and he began the game with 1d4. Knight f6, knight f3, g6, going into some sort of a modern defense type setup. g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, an Indian defense, I think. So castles, c6, c4, and with the move d5, we transpose into the neo-Grunfeld defense. So, what is happening in this opening? So the normal way white plays is he develops over here. If black ever captures over here, you push e4, take over the center, and he'll most probably enter into this sort of setup. Uh, and the other way to play this sort of position is to simply continue with b3 as he did. It's another viable plan to put the bishop on b2, counteracting black's strong bishop over here on g7. So d captures c4 was played, b captures c4, c5, uh, challenging the center. Obviously, you don't want to take over here in such positions, nor do you want to push. So e3, knight c6, bishop b2, and over here c captures d4. Interesting to note, Mr. Mehmood Lodhi has had this position once before in his game versus Arjun Bharat in 2012 while he was just 13 years old. Mr. Arjun, I'm talking about. He was, and now he has reached the title of candidate master. So I'll just show you guys how that game went. It went with e captures d4, bishop g4, knight bd2, rook c8, knight b3, and knight d7. And the ideas over here for white are quite simple. Push away this bishop, bring out the rooks, perhaps challenge this pawn over here. This might become weak. Push this, bring the queen to the second rank so you can guard this bishop if you ever want to. And yeah, these are the main ideas. So over here, he chose for the better line, which is knight captures d4. So we have queen b6, queen b3, and knight d7, opening up the dark squared bishop, pressuring this uh, d4 square. So queen captures b6, knight captures b6, knight d2, and over here black makes a tactical mistake with knight a4. So white to play, and he finds the best continuation with knight captures c6, bishop captures b2, and after knight captures e7 check, king g7, and over here, white, I'd say white has a very comfortable position. He's up a pawn, and the d5 square is extremely juicy for white. You guys can see that if this bishop ever moves, this becomes a weakness as well. In the end game, although black will have this advantage of of 2 on 1 on the queen side, but if this pawn, I don't see this pawn being traded anytime soon. And over here on the king side, as we can see, there is a clear 3 on 4 majority. So any endgame should favor white. So rook b8. Over here, black parts away with his dark squared bishop, which in my light squared bishop, sorry, which in my opinion is a strategic mistake, as he really does need it to guard this diagonal, and this knight over here is one of I'd say white's least stronger pieces. So knight captures c8, rook captures c8, knight d5 as I said, rook c7, knight e4, planning to either bring the knight over here, good play. So h6, dropping knight g5, rook f d1, and rook d8, counteracting this rook on the semi-open d file. So yes, f4, f5, knight goes back to f2. So over here, this position does favor white immensely. First of all, because he has managed to consolidate the position, so the inequalities, as you can see, are quite there on the board. This knight is misplaced. This bishop is pinned. For if he were moved, you lose this pawn as well. And the only viable pawn break, I'd say, belongs to white. So this is a very comfortable position for white. b6, taking care of that weakness back there, and rook d3. Bishop goes back to f6, and a very nice move, knight d1. So what this does is it basically stops knight c3, and this is a very strong move because number one, it will take this, and you'll just be losing this bishop over here, and once you lose this bishop, I'm pretty sure this game would end in a draw. So this is a very important move. Anyways, knight c5 was played. Rook goes back to d2, although rook a3 could have been played, and after some moves, you guys can see white getting a bit of an edge, but it's unclear. This is over here, this is over here, and if you just play carelessly, one can even, there are some ideas of like sacking over here, but let's not divulge too much into that. So after knight c5, rook d2 was played. We have knight e4, rook e2, knight d6, bishop goes to c2, or rook c2, rook c5, preparing to double up, and knight f2. And now the initiative is within white's hands. One can clearly tell, because he has this pawn break if this knight ever moves, and he has quite a simple plan, whereas black doesn't have that, it's a comfortable play. So white has the initiative and continues with rook bc1, rook a5, king g2, slowly and surely building up the position. There is not much black can do over here, and finally going for that pawn break. Interesting to note that this pawn break only works now because he misplaced his rook over here. So e4, f captures e4, knight captures e4, and over here knight captures c4, which turns out to be a mistake. Partly because of the fact, because after knight captures f6, king captures f6, uh, white simply has too much of a comfortable position, as you guys can see. He will simply be creating threats and winning. But Mr. Lodhi found another way to play this position, which is nice. King h3. King h3, bishop goes back to d3. You want to vacate this square as you don't want that trade, as I just said. Knight goes back to d2. Because this is pinned, he's adding pressure over here. I would say that this move works, I believe. What did he play? I think he played b5. b5 is a mistake, I believe, because of rook e8, pinning this. So now this is pinned and this is pinned, and this is a weakness over here. You can't move from here, because if you move, he'll take over here. So I think what Mr. Black, I don't remember his name, Biswas, has missed was probably this move. After knight d6, rook captures c8, bishop capture, knight captures c8. There's rook e8, but there's also rook d4. So after takes, let's say, and takes, even if we take and take, this position should be a draw. Even after this, it should be a draw, but it's probably more difficult for black to hold. So after he played the move b5 and rook e8, as I said, g5 and rook g8 check. King goes to h7, f captures g5, h captures g5, and after knight e4, this just wins another pawn. So g4 saying that okay, you'll have to bring your king out. So Mr. Lodhi snaps that right off. So rook a6, rook e2. There are some moves are played. The rooks are traded off, and the pieces are better placed. So now he has both his minor pieces on the central squares, which is extremely nice in any endgames. And Mr. Lodhi is known as a master of endgames. These two pawns will be start marching down the board, and there's always this pawn to stop over here, and this lone pawn won't be able to do much. So uh, Mr. Lodhi starts bringing his pieces, arranging them, bringing his pieces to the stronger squares over here with knight g5, rook g7, bishop a6, inciting more and more weaknesses within black's territory. Asking for some trades, but obviously, so now this king is extremely weak compared to white's king, I'd say. Even though black also tried the same strategy, bringing his pieces towards the central squares, but it doesn't quite work, because yeah. So after this move, it was imperative to take this knight over here, because there are some checks start coming into the position, and you don't want that really. So after this move, I think he missed. Mr. Lodhi missed this move over here, but okay, this is also a better way to play. Yeah, so over here he's simply threatening this move, I believe, or this move. Both of these moves win. So yeah, he didn't go for that idea. He's going for a different idea. And after this move, this he's threatening mate in one. The only way to stop mate is to part way with a piece. So after this, and this, it's simply a winning endgame for white. Obviously, over here, interesting to note is that if you take, and I think the move over here is this. You don't. No wait, I think I misplayed. Yeah, this. Let me just turn on the engine once for some little time. There was an interesting line I saw here. which said, I think over here, yes, you have to push this, because if you don't, if you, let's say, take over here, then this just ends in a draw. This is forever here guarding, and you can't like move this knight, and this will stay over here. So yeah, this was an interesting line I wanted to show you guys. So after some moves, yeah, this position's completely lost now for black. And over here, black resigned the game. So yeah, this was it for our first win of Mr. Mehmood Lodhi in his tournament after I don't know how many years. Best of luck to him, and yeah, this was the game. Goodbye.